Wait. Yo. What else? I mean, you check. Man, to was here. Yo. I know, boy. Anyway, Tonga the rhyme with corner. Will you come with me to my corner? I won't give you hard drive format. May was Senebe 5 on that. Nice chick, may a chroma. Maybe do nice flick with my Kodak. Freeze, baby cheese. Oh gosh, she body, maybe boom to say kunka. By the way, a froze simple, vida. Cause I dey kai say me shower revival. But na many more me than I'm team and try that. And then, say my chill, I will vibe. Swine, you make us a 6 hours. Na me ria ma be crash with 20 hours. Man, no, you then chain hallmark. I grown kwa makasa star, but all because of. Wait. Yo. What else? I mean, you check. Man, to was here. Yo. I know, boy. Anyway, Tonga the rhyme with corner. Will you come with me to my corner? I won't give you hard drive format. May was Senebe 5 on that. Nice chick, may a chroma. Maybe do nice flick with my Kodak. Freeze, baby cheese. Oh gosh, she body, maybe boom to say kunka. By the way, a froze simple, vida. Cause I dey kai say me shower revival. But na many more me than I'm team and try that. And then, say my chill, I will vibe. Swine, you make us a 6 hours. Na me ria ma be crash with 20 hours. Man, no, you then chain hallmark. I grown kwa makasa star, but all because of
50%.
50%.
50%. Did you know that if you're between the ages of 18 and 35, you're 10 times more likely to die from a car crash?
Increase your odds by 50%.
Just by wearing a seatbelt.
It can make the difference between living or dying.
I know this.
We know this.
Do you?
So click it or ticket. In Rhode Island, it's the law. Seatbelts save lives.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Pepperbird Magazine's production of Africa Teach-In. I'm J. Rodney Chesson, your host. Today we have a very special show for you that is a little offset from our last format. In our last show, Professor Edmund Bablo and I talked about the Liberian election in 2017 and who were the possible candidates that were vying for this presidential position. In this edition, we want to come back to our community in Rhode Island. We have with us today a very special guest. He is the newly elected chairman of the African Community Leadership Forum of Rhode Island. And he is none other than Mr. Alexander Danso. So before we get into our show, let me introduce our panels, our guests to you. I have on my right Professor Edmund Zaza Bablo. Professor, welcome to Africa Teach-In.
I'm happy to be here again.
And we're happy to have you, Professor. And on my immediate left, we have the chairman of the African Leadership Forum, Mr. Alexander Danso. Mr. Chairman, hello and welcome to Africa Teach-In.
Hello, and I'm very glad to be here.
I'm glad you came. I've been trying to get you for a while. I finally got him to come. Well, Mr. Chairman, we know you've been a resident of Rhode Island for a while.
Yes, indeed.
And we know you have been a community leader for a while. Could you kindly give us a brief historical background of yourself?
I'm glad you asked the question. I came to this country in 1977, straight to school. And I studied at Yale University in New Haven, where I got my engineering degree. I worked all my life in New Haven in the power industry, where I retired a couple of years ago. But I've been a resident of Pawtucket for over 28 years. I have my family here, and I have my child also here. While I was living in Pawtucket all these years, I've always been engaged in the community. I served as the second president of the Ghana Association of Rhode Island for 18 years. We did a lot of good things. And after my tenure, there came a point where I had to get involved with the rest of the community. Thus, I ended up with African Community Leadership Forum. I guess that's in a nutshell, just something that you can say about where I came from and where I am now.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, let's get to the African Community Leadership Forum. This is a new organization in Rhode Island. What is it about? And just before you go on, Professor, I want you to know you can jump in anytime. He said I'm going on with his discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The African Community Leadership Forum came about naturally because of the need for all the African leaders to get together so that we have a common front. What happens is that all the African communities, like Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, I can name many of them, all resident in Rhode Island, have common issues. Every one of them, if you talk to them, will say that one of their prime objective is to have a building of their own. And thus far, nobody has been able to acquire one. Naturally, about 3 years ago, there came an opportunity for something like that to be realized. We had a very energetic member of our community in the name of Charles Odingbe. He was director of the RIPTA, I believe. And when he came here and working in that capacity, he organized all the African leaders to come together because there was an opportunity to buy a building that would represent all Africans in Rhode Island. And so all the leaders came together, were very galvanized with one mission to try and get that building. Well, it didn't take too long when there was a hiccup in that plan, and Charles had to leave Rhode Island. And when it happened, those of us who were all together in the African Leadership Forum decided to hang on and then deal with all the other issues that we are facing in Rhode Island. That was the genesis of African Community Leadership.
Mr. Danso, thank you so much. I am very happy that you have taken time out of your own busy schedule to grace the African teaching with your presence here today. I have my concern here is about the goals and objective of this organization. There are many Africans under the impression here in Rhode Island that these African organizations want to come out to serve a political purpose in terms of congressional election for some of the congressmen here in the state of Rhode Island, or the election for governor or city mayor, and then this group will emerge, they will surface, so to speak. What are the goals and objectives of the African Community Leadership Forum?
Well, the main goal of the African Community Leadership Forum is two parts: to improve our socio-economic status in the community and also be viable politically. So basically, you're right. We find that even though there are so many Africans in this community here, each one of them is organized on their own, and it's like divide and conquer. When you are all in little silos, you don't know what the other groups are doing. You don't really, present a very strong front. And so we see that so many areas that we can have synergy among all the leadership. So when we came together, one of the first things that we had to tackle was that right after we lost the opportunity to have a building, the election process was beginning to move on. That was the 2014 elections. And so we decided at that time that here's a very good opportunity to come together and have a united front so that we can present it to all the people who will be running for office. And exactly at that time we decided that we'll get all the elected or those who are trying to run for office to come see us so we can lay down what our concerns we have and what they can do to help us live in this Rhode Island here as very viable citizenry in the community, because there are very good Africans in this Rhode Island. And so we came together, and over the election time we were able to interview a host of people vying for different offices, including those running for the mayoral office and the governorship. And we brought them all together. They will come and see us. We lay down what consensus, what our objectives are, and what they can do for our communities. And during that time, we built a good relationship with all the people running, which we, after the elections, we are continuing to foster that same strong relationship among the African community and the leadership of Rhode Island.
Right, okay, thank you. Let me just make one follow-up, then Mr. Chesson can also try to interject. First of all, I have to compliment you. I think when Africans take time out of their own busy schedule to provide leadership to the community, especially we have children here, and our children are active participants, especially in the academic institutions. And it is good. You just said, or you alluded to the fact that most of our community organizations are fragmented. We are not cohesive. We don't come together. And for the first time to have the African Community Leadership Forum, which serve to integrate all African organizations or associations here in the state of Rhode Island, it's a beautiful thing. What would you suggest for Africans to be a little bit active in the political process in the state? And do we have an African representation at the state level, or either an officer working for the state or city mayor in the state of Providence, Pawtucket, Cranston, Warwick? Do we have any African representations at that level?
It's very interesting you asked that. First of all, let me say this. Part of the reason why the African community leaders came together politically is one of the main reasons is that we see that most of us have gotten our children or first generation Americans, African Americans here on Rhode Island. And as Africans, we make sure that our kids are very well educated. Some of our kids have 2 degrees or 3 degrees. They are doctors, they are engineers, some in social sciences and all that. And there isn't any pathway for them to realize their dreams. So we, the first generation of immigrants who have come here as Africans, we see a good reason to try and then create a pathway for them. So one of the things that the African Community Leadership Forum is trying to do is that we're trying to encourage all our young people to get involved. There are some of our young people who I know are interested in running for offices. And if the time comes for them to be able to run for office, there have to be a framework of Africans in the state built in with all the infrastructure that will allow that person to lift off and run efficiently, for any leadership position in the state. And so what we're trying to do is that encourage the young people to come. And fortunately, we see results. Some of the young people are joining us and then looking up to us to pave the way, so that when the time comes for them to run, they can start on a firm base. If you look around, that's what the Spanish people have been able to do. They have a strong political base from which those who want to run can lift off from. We need to do the same thing. And so I'm glad to hear, to tell you that we have young people who are interested. In fact, as part of the result in talking to these leaders before they got into office, for example, the governorship, I remember when we had interview with Gina Romando, we expressed the desire that we'd like to see diversity in health government. We say the same thing to Mayor Eloza, that we expect that we should see diversity and especially representation from the African community. Now, if you look at Gina Ramondo's office, there's a young gentleman over there called Gabe Amon. His father is a Ghanaian. He's actually my very good friend. Young Amon started working with Senator Whitehouse during his senatorial elections, and helped with that election process. And after that, he also helped our own president, Barack Obama, in his elections. He was the head of the youth group during that time. And after the president got into office, I'm glad to say that he brought along this young Gabe Amon as well. So he served with Obama in his office there at the White House all this time. He recently just came up from there, and now working for Gina Raimondo in the governor's office.
Wow. Very good. Very good.
Besides that, I know there's also a young woman of Nigerian descent who is also in the high office in Gina's administration. When it comes to, for example, Mayor Loza, we don't have that much representation there. We do have a young lawyer who's in his administration, but the young man was already there when Mr. Tavares was mayor. So we're making progress. I'd like to see more and more young people, who want to be able to lead in the community to come out and have our support.
Yeah, that's very good. Just a point of attention, I think Governor Romando has done very well in keeping with her promise to diversify the leadership of the state. And Governor, we take our hats off to you. We talk about the community forum. What comprises the community forum?
Yes. A lot of people think that Africa is just monolithic, just one Africa, but it is not. There are so many African nations. If all they have to do is look at the map, and they will see that there are so many nations. I wish there was a united nation of Africa where everybody is all together, but we don't have that. Now, for those Africans who live in Rhode Island here, not the most represented here, first is the Liberian. There's a very large Liberian community here in Rhode Island. The second large community is Nigeria. Third is Ghana. And from that, we have Sierra Leoneans, we have Gambians, we have Senegalese represented here. So all these big nationalities who are here, their leaders are part of the forum. And any African organization that is in Rhode Island is part of this forum. What we're trying to do is bring every leader under one umbrella. The most recent nation that joined us, it just happened that the leader of the Guinea-Bissau Association of Rhode Island saw one of our communiques and called our secretary and asked to be part of the forum, which is very, very nice to see, because what we want is for everybody to get involved with us, so that when we speak with one voice.
May I interject, because when you were talking about various community groupings in the state of Rhode Island, Cape Verde is on the west coast of Africa. The Cape Verdeans, are they part of this leadership forum?
No. The answer is no. Those of us who have lived here in Rhode Island and have friends who are also from Cape Verde, you will find that now most Cape Verdeans don't identify themselves readily as Africans. They very much identify themselves as Portuguese. There are some who are enlightened and would think that we're all the same African.
Okay, but one of the reasons I decided to ask this question is that the African Cup of Nations, Cape Verde also participate in the African Cup of Nations.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start. I think what is happening here, perhaps the forum needs to develop some strategies so as to integrate them. Because I have a lot of Cape Verde friends, and most of them identify themselves as Africans. As a matter of fact, some of my students, they want to see me, oh, my fellow African professor or African teacher. You see, so they identify themselves as someone. We have to perhaps reach out to them, so make them to feel comfortable, so that they can also be part of the African process. Because most of them feel that they are Africans. You might find some who perhaps of lack of enough information perceive themselves otherwise. But most people that I have come across do see themselves as Africans. Again, when it comes to African Americans, what is the role of the African Community Leadership Forum in terms of reaching out to the African Americans so that they can also be part of this process? It's like the stranger inviting the host now. Well, because they're supposed to be our host here, and they should take the initiative to reach out to the African immigrants so that we can be a part of this melting pot that is so essential for us to be able to project our Africanness or our Africanism, also to feel at home, because they are our extension in the diaspora.
Well, to tell you the truth, the African Community Leadership Forum, what we've stated is that, at least for now, the affiliated community organizations that are part of it, I'll name them. I already named some of them already.
Yeah.
The Nigerian, Liberian, Senegalese, Gambian, African American.
Okay, very good.
Sierra Leone, Cape Verde is on the list.
Okay, very good.
The fact that they haven't shown up doesn't mean that we don't recognize them as such. We embrace all of them because we see our Africanness throughout all of them. And the hard part is reaching out and convincing them that we are all in this together and that we are much better off together than splintered.
That's very good, Mr. Chairman. Now that we have this list of the organization members, and what has the organization, I know you talk about the political involvement in the community, what has been the response of these African communities and their leaders?
That's a very interesting question. I'm an optimist, you see. I don't give up easily. And I have eternal hope that Africans will come together when we have a cause that we want to take on. It's been very difficult getting all the leaders to come together consistently, We have regular meetings, and as you know, if you are any organization, the only way you thrive is to meet and discuss issues and take on things, programs and challenges that you want to be able to accomplish. And you can't do that by just a couple of people. The more hands we have, the better we can better serve our community. But unfortunately, it's very, very difficult to get a real commitment from all the leaders to be participatory in everything that we do all the time. consistently, it's mostly those leaders from Liberia, from Ghana, from Nigeria, and the Pan-Africa leader that comes in. And recently, the Congolese have been very strong. They've been showing real commitment and showing up for all our meetings. What we need to do is to especially appeal to our Francophone countries. When I say Francophone, I mean those French-speaking African countries.
Like Cote d'Ivoire.
Like Cote d'Ivoire and
Senegal.
Senegal and all that.
Guinea.
They are members, but we don't see their presence as much as we would like to. So we want to encourage them, to keep on, coming to their meetings and be part of it, so that we all see the same things, we have the same issues, we discuss them, and have one common front when we're dealing with all the issues that affect us all across the board.
So, as the head, the leadership group for the African community organizations, what other organizations do you affiliate with in the Rhode Island community? I mean, what's the extent of your outreach, connecting with other communities in the community?
Well,
we have the African community, African American community. Even though they don't have a representative in the meeting, I've still seen communicate between you and them. So what is the relationship anyway? Even though it's not structured, but is there a relationship? Do you work with the African American communities?
Not on regular basis. When there's an issue that affects all Africans, we reach out to them. Okay? For example, what's going on with the justice system and the police brutality across the nation, that's not something that's going to be peculiar to just African people. It's African American, anybody of color. It affects all of us. So when we have common issues that cut across all the minority groups, we reach out to each other, for support.
I think what Brother Chess is alluding to is for the organization to be able to form partnership. And for the formation of partnership in community is so important. So when a crisis comes about, the partnership has already been established, and you can always tap into that partnership to be able to achieve some of your objectives. I think this is what you're trying to ask.
Yeah, well, a group like the NAACP.
Oh, yeah. And
well, in that case, yes, we do have partnership with NAACP. Jim Vincent is a good friend of ours, and yes, we have a relationship with the NAACP.
Are we aware of the march that's coming up in May?
Yes.
And because that's just what you're alluding to during your conversation.
Yes.
What role is the leadership forum playing in that?
Well, we expect to be supporting that effort. But we haven't delved very much into it. So there's so many issues that we are facing, but we do know that something that important, we should be part of it. And so I'm sure we're going to be involved one way or another.
I think, first of all, this organization is new. Some of the questions we throwing at you tonight, we do realize that the organization is evolving. And with time, some of the issue will be addressed. And you as the president, being our presence here today, we are throwing a lot of questions at you, and hopefully next time you will bring someone with you, so that you will not be so bombarded with questions.
By the way,
yes,
you need to know, Mr. Chesson here is my vice president.
Ah,
so you know.
Okay.
Yes.
So which means now I will throw some questions to Chesson. One of the things I'm trying to put out here is the African time versus American time. Do you have a problem with that? For example, the meeting should start at 4 o'clock Some will start coming at 7. I'm not talking about myself now because I came on time today.
Okay, Professor.
Well, you know that the African time, you know, it's very hard, you know, to really overcome. I personally, I'm somebody who keeps time. Time is always very important to me. So when it's time for our meetings, I make sure I'm there before the time. But as you alluded to, I'll have to sit there for about 30 minutes before somebody else shows up. So we have a policy, you know, or well, I have this policy that if 2 or 3 people show up, I'm ready to go on with the meetings. And as people come along, they come and join. Because if we have to wait for everybody, we'll not be able to do anything.
I think our presence here is very important in the diaspora. And it's good that you talk about the political process, because I do feel very strongly that those of us that have children, if we can bring them into the political limelight and for them to participate in the political process, so that in the future, when they return to Africa, they can be able to really practice democracy the way it is practiced in the West. Hopefully, one of our kids or children will become president in Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, and do not become surprised. A few years from now, you will have one of these young men or women become leader in their respective African countries.
So, on that note, what do you see as the future of the African Forum, Community Forum?
Well,
Near future.
in the nearest future,
Yes.
we want to be able to have a voice in the next election that's going to be coming for the national level, because all the lessons we've learned in going through the 2014 elections, now we see that we're a viable group here in Rhode Island, and we have to be able to build up on the successes that we've had and try to educate our people about the importance of voting, because I believe in brightening the corner where you are. I'm glad you said that someday one of our children will end up, leading the various African countries that we came from. I pray to God that that day will come. But until that time, most of our kids just are Americans, and they see themselves as Americans, as they should be. And so the first thing is to be able to be successful in the political climate here. If they learn the ropes and become politically viable here, then it's a good chance that some of them may do exactly what you were suggesting, go back home and then help lead some of our countries. Because I believe that it only takes the young generation to bring about the kind of change we've been dreaming about in Africa.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just brought the topic out because to me we are here for a purpose.
Yes, we are.
Those who are from Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, the divine works in a mysterious ways. And even if you look at the slave trade itself, without the slave trade, you and I wouldn't be able to be so rooted in the diaspora, especially in America.
That's correct.
So the divine works in mysterious ways. And do not be surprised. I'm very, very optimistic that 10, 20 years, 30 years from now, you and I might not be alive. But one of these days, one of the kids are born here in the United States will be president in one of the African countries. There's a possibility. And this is why it is important that this organization really become rooted in terms of community activities, be able to reach out to your community members, perhaps after school program or youth activities, so that as long as they are comfortable with their Africanness and comfortable with their Americanness, they can blend the two, and eventually, so that when they get back to Africa, they can be able to provide a leadership. Because the only way democracy can take root, unless people understand the language of democracy, the practices of democracy, how to participate in the process, how to argue, how to disagree to agree. If you and I disagree on a policy, it doesn't mean we should start shooting each other. You see, So as long as the kids are here, they will become familiarized themselves with that concept. And when they return home, either they are going home or their grandchildren are going home. And this is why I have respect for the Ghanaians and the Nigerians in particular. Because from time to time, they take their children back home. And perhaps those who are from Liberia to do that too. From time to time, take our kids back home. So they can create that connectedness with our Africanness.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad to tell you that of all the African community that we have in Rhode Island, the one that's doing the most in teaching our young people about leadership is Oasis. By the way, Oasis is also it's an organization, so it's part of the forum. Because they have a program for just young people. They take them from high school, teach them the skills of public speaking, basic knowledge about leadership, and they graduate and go to colleges and become leaders in college. That's how it starts. You have to start them young.
That's true.
The Ghana Association used to do same thing. We had our kids, we teach them the culture. We used to go to colleges and perform, and the monies that we used to make, we turn it around and give it to them as scholarships when it's time for them to go to college. And the reason why I feel very, very passionate about this is because those kids that get exposure to leadership knowledge, and public speaking and being able to perform in public, they take all the shyness away from them, and they're not afraid, to step up and be leaders.
That's correct.
And so most of the kids that got into our programs, for example, they all went to college. Every one of them. And when they went to college, they were leaders. You see, they led different groups. Some of them are already, like I suggested, here is one of them gone so far, to be in the Obama White House.
Yeah.
That's as far as you can go. And I know that young man, the sky's the limit, And we, in fact, recently Ghana, celebrated its 58th independence anniversary. And so this young man working for Governor Gina Raimondo, Gabe Amon, we invited him to speak so they can talk to the young people. Because that's the idea. The young people are the ones we're trying to reach.
Of course.
As for us, we are already old.
Yeah, of course.
Here I am retired. All I can do is teach the young people who are coming so that they can take up from us.
Yes.
That's the challenge.
Yeah. Well, anyway, gentlemen, before we conclude this segment of our show, Mr. Chairman, we're talking about the meetings, and where do you have your meetings?
Yes, we have our meetings at the Oasis establishment. There used to be a bank. It's on 600 Broad Street in Providence. Okay. Yes. Oasis has been very generous in allowing the forum to hold our meetings over there. And again, every one of those groups want a building of their own. Wouldn't it be nice if someday, because we are together, we're able to finally find some home that we can call African House.
Yeah.
So everybody can be there, have offices in there, have cultural activities in there. That would be the day.
Yeah. Is there a contact number?
Well, yes, I can give you contact numbers. Let me see. Well, one of the numbers is 401 450 7969. And there's a whole list of numbers. I don't know whether you can put all that up.
I think I saw one number on this while you were shaking it.
I was looking for it, yes. The other number is 401 421 1252. You can reach us at those two numbers anytime.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with the chairman of the African Community Leadership Forum of Rhode Island, Chairman Alexander Danso. He is of the Ghanaian community and African community. We have also been here with our co-host, Professor Edmund Zaza Babla of the Liberian and African community. And I have been your host, J. Rodney Chesson. This is the end of the first segment of our show. We'll be back soon to continue our second segment. Please stay tuned and watch out for us. Thank you very much.
I know, boy. Anyway, Tonga the rhyme with corner. Will you come with me to my corner? I won't give you hard drive format. May was Senebel 5 on that. Nice chick, may a chroma. Maybe do nice flick with my Kodak. Freeze, baby cheese. Oh gosh, she body, maybe boom to say kunka. By the way, fro simple, vida. Cause I decay say me shower revival. But na many more me than I'm team and try that. And then, say my chill, ever viber. Swine, you make us up 6 hours. Na me ria ma be crash show 20 hours. Man, no, you then chain hallmark. I grown kwa makasa star, but all because of. Wait. Yo. What else? I mean, you chair. Then to was here. Yo. I know, boy. Anyway, Tonga the rhyme with corner. Will you come with me to my corner? I won't give you hard drive format. May was Senebel 5 on that. Nice chick, may a chroma. Maybe do nice flick with my Kodak. Freeze, baby cheese. Oh gosh, she body, maybe boom to say kunka. By the way, fro simple, vida. Cause I decay say me shower revival. But na many more me than I'm team and try that. And then, say my chill, ever viber. Swine, you make us up 6 hours. Na me ria ma be crash show 20 hours. Man, no, you then chain hallmark. I grown kwa makasa star, but all because of. Wait. Yo. What else? I mean, you chair. Then to was here. Yo. I know, boy. Anyway, Tonga the rhyme with corner. Will you come with me to my corner? I won't give you hard drive format. May was Senebel 5 on that. Nice chick, may a chroma. Maybe do nice flick with my Kodak. Freeze, baby cheese. Oh gosh, she body, maybe boom to say kunka. By the way, fro simple, vida. Cause I decay